Hey, how are you? It's been a few days, so I'm here to do a bit of a update or whatever you want to call these things. It is Saturday, the 25th of August, and then, as I always say, time is just flying by. It really is. The days just melt away, and I'll share some music with you. The first thing I'll share with you is self-referential, which I'm happy about. This has been a busy year for me. I just received a copy of the fourth release by anyone this year that I'm a part of. As you know earlier, or if you follow me earlier this year, or was it last year? Last year I waxed enthusiastic about some records, primarily the Dereck recording, which again I still highly regard. Carla has a voice that you won't forget. And then another musician that I became familiar with, who sent me his work, Mark Stanley Quartet, a guitarist who reminds me at times of Bill Frisell. He sounds a bit like Bill Frisell, but he's also very interesting, has a wild style. This is another one of his albums, Insect Warriors. He's got some names on here. If I remember correctly, Dennis Chambers, who's played drums with David Bowie, is the drummer on here. I mean, among other people. Dennis Chambers has played with everybody. Here's another one, Blueberry Submarines. I really like this one by Mark Stanley. Well, I'm showing you those because Mark and Stanley have collaborated and they have a brand new CD. And it's called Double Dreaming. It just came out. Mark Stanley and Carla Dereck. What's real cool about this is even though Mark forgot to put my name on the disc anywhere, I'm on this. I play bass on the third track, Checkmate. Really pleased that Mark asked me to play on this. When he sent me the track, out of context of anything else, really kind of threw me for a loop. You know, it's like, I like the track. I especially like the way Carla took the words of what he'd written, or maybe she wrote them, and embodies the sentiment with her voice, you know. So I played the track, and I kept pretty straight with it. I mean, there's a couple things where I can tell that it's me, where it's like I do a couple things where that's my bass. I'm glad I did that. But in the context of the record now, it's the third track. It makes sense now. Oh, what an interesting contrast to what's going on. I'm happy to say that above and beyond the fact that I'm on this, I really like this, and it's kind of what's the word I was just thinking of? There are the pieces are almost like sketches, like watching an artist or artist's work in process. I think that's the best way to describe how some of these tracks hit me. It's a living thing going on while they're playing, and we're alive with them. A particular track on here, I know it's hard for some of you to understand me here, but Athler Kinder, the sixth track on this CD, I recommend this, and I'm going to leave the link. It's beautiful. It's just gorgeous. So I want to share that with you. It's been a very busy year for me. You know, this is the fourth CD that's come out this year that I play on, and there's more to come. I don't know if the Gonzalo Fuentes' latest project will be realized by the end of the year, but I'm also on that. And then there's the RAF album, which we're still it's taking a while. We got the drums and stuff, but it's like it'll take a while. Besides that, I would like to share another quick review. An artist who is originally from the Midwest, but she's internationally famous jazz singer Karen Allison. Some of you folks, I know James Drummond shared with me that he saw her in concert a few years ago back in New York. Karen is from Kansas City but lived in Omaha, and we're not friends but we're associates. She used to be in an all-girl rock band called Tomboy back in the 80s, and did shows with her. You know, my band and their band would do shows, and they're actually getting ready to do a reunion show. It's going to be pretty special. I'll be talking about it. But this is Karen's new new CD, and it's her first of original material. And I got a signed copy from Karen. I appreciate that. Karen is a jazz singer who I rate above someone like Diana Krall. Diana Krall is good. But if you think Diana Krall is good and you've never heard Karen Allison, you need to fix that. That is no diss on Diana Krall. It's just a comment on the business, how the most visible artists are not necessarily the best, but had advantages or things worked out that they ended up being the one that gets all the attention. This is really true throughout the industry, that the best are not at the top of the heap, and many of the best artists you've never heard, and neither have I. Karen, this is a really good CD. Now, like I said, her background is jazz, but on here she's stretching it out, and I would use as a reference Norah Jones, okay? There's blues, folk, jazz, a little bit of rock and roll on here. And she wrote all the tunes, and it's really warm. It's really warm. And Karen is a sweetheart. She was in town a few months ago, and I interviewed her for my Mind and Soul radio show, Roots of Electric Jazz, which will be coming back. If she could get some decent promotion, which, again, the business truly is a business, you know. I love music. I don't love business. So if somehow she were able to get the right business moves made in her favor, if she could get good promotional money put behind her, this could be successful. It's been shown time and time again, every era of music, it's been shown how artists can be put in a way, can be presented in a way that everyone loves them and buys everything that they do, even though they're not necessarily worth anything or any good. A real good example is Milli Vanilli. I mean, they didn't even sing the songs, you know, and they made millions for the producers. And they completely hoodwinked the public. One of the things I like to do with my channel here is to try to talk about music on the real side, not about what's popular, but about what's good. Okay, and Karen Allison is good. I'll say the same about Mark Stanley and Carla Dereck. Both of them are distinct voices musically that when you hear them, become familiar with them, you know them immediately. It's true of Mark's playing and Carla's already after getting familiar with them for about a year now. I really love Carla's raspy, dark, lived-in voice. You know, you can tell that the woman has experienced some things. She's lived some life. It comes through in the voice. You can't fake that kind of gravitas. Okay? Yeah, I want to chat this up. Not because they're my friends, but because this is damned good. Double Dreaming by Mark Stanley and Carla Dereck. Before I'll go, I'll just show you what else is laying around here. It's been an interesting time, you know, just all kinds of things going on. I'll just talk about music for now. Maybe another one I'll give some more personal update to talk about the wacky world we live in. But here's a CD I love and wish I had on original on vinyl, just because. Gila, German, what they call krautrock, cosmic rock is what I call it. They have another album called Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, which I like even better. I don't have it. I have a burn of it. This comes from the early 70s. This is cosmic space rock. It's even upsetting. I've always found it upsetting, and I think they do it on purpose when this would happen, when bands would make songs or tape collages or sound collages, and they would include the sound of a baby crying. And one of the tracks on here does that, and it does it to the point where it's upsetting. You know, it's like it's really powerful, and it's like you just have to take it off, you know. The crying just sounds so anguished. And the way they use it, it's like, okay, we're not just hearing a baby crying. This is representative of something much bigger than one child. It's powerful. It's powerful. Played this last night after my gig, or was it before my gig? I had a gig last night. Dukes of Stratosphere, Sonic Sunspot, the XTC members. This is where they do a bunch of pastiches of psychedelia. And at the end of one side, is it Pale and Precious? They completely do a send-up of Brian Wilson's Pet Sounds production techniques. I mean, they completely copy it to a T, but with their own song. You know, with the sleigh bells and the dup-ba-dup, and it's just amazing, you know. Andy Partridge is still alive, but probably would have been a bigger star if it wasn't for his own awareness of his own. He knows he's good, and that makes people think he's arrogant. He maybe probably is. Kind of like Todd Rundgren. I'm good and I know it, and I don't mind letting you know I know it. And that people don't like that. And I think that worked against Andy Partridge because he knows he's good. Exmal Deutschland, German band. They started off alternative, got pigeonholed goth a little bit, then they went pop. I like all eras of the band. This is their album Viva, where they were starting to move in a more commercial vein, and I think this is a great album. Manchmal, several songs. Sickle Moon, killer songs. It's got the 23 envelope graphics. The guys that did most of the iconic covers for 4AD. Exmal Deutschland. Pulled this to play for Hugo. He didn't even pay attention to it. Roxy Music, Country Life. Michael Caroli of Can, sister of the band Can. That's his sister on the cover here. Great album, Roxy Music. These albums really stand the test of time as far as being rock/pop music that has something. It's got a quality. It's like they really wanted to make something good with this music. Roxy Music is the best. Hadn't played this in a while. Pulled it, and wow, is this good. German Oak. For a little while there wanted to be some controversy about this album because the cover graphic has the guy in the helmet, and some folks wanted to just have a reaction that somehow they thought it was Nazi because these guys, I think, are from Germany. Of course, it has nothing to do with the record. Who knows why they chose this for a graphic. This came out in 1972, and this is more that this is not so much cosmic. This is spacey, stoned jamming. At times it reminds me of Faust, with the churning, whirling organ and the primitive beats going on here, but it's really intense. This is really good. German Oak. German Oak. German Oak. Played one side of this. This is really a collector's item now. This is Big Star, you know, Alex Chilton's band that shoulda, woulda, coulda, you know what I'm saying? I mean, they really were. This is some just amazing top flight pop music, on a par with anything like the Beatles or the Kinks. This is their first two albums Radio City, a #1 record, released as a double album. This came out in the UK. And this, I think, was pressed in 1978. I just looked this up because this has been reissued a few times. And this version goes for money. It's on Stax. I played Radio City all the way through, and it just really is just excellent songwriting, playing. It's got the feeling. You know how, not you know how, but there's a lot of music and a lot of pop music that's been written to try to get the girl or about the girl. Some woman, some girl has affected you, has affected the writer, and that's really in here. These guys are pining for this girl or some girl, but you can really feel it. You know what I'm saying? It's like they want to get that girl. Big Star. This is some amazing shit. This is some amazing pop music. If you don't know that, you need to know that. You need to know that. All right. One more. Played this. Gato Barbieri, Hispanic jazz musician who died a few years ago, who I think is amazing, and I think he's done some kind of pioneering things, but he doesn't get credit. You don't hear about him when they talk about music in the media. Gato Barbieri. This one is called Chapter 1 Latin America, and it's jazz, but it's very, very folk oriented. I mean, it's Mexican. It's just got all this traditional percussion and chanting and singing, and then Gato Barbieri's playing. If you don't know him, he's a fire player. I think he. Okay, I'm sort of trying to figure it out as I talk. He could play with that fire like Pharoah Sanders and John Coltrane, where he could scream really, really effectively. But I think what probably worked against Gato Barbieri's benefit is how at times he would use the scream almost like a signature, like he would just call it up because, oh, it's time for me to scream. It kind of, sometimes it hits me like that. But to get back to this particular album, Chapter 1 Latin America, this is really, really good. I say that because I have several Gato Barbieri albums, and some of them are not as interesting. This is another really good one, Gato Barbieri with Dollar Brand. Confluence. I had these out because I was kind of looking at them thinking, well, I have all these Gato Barbieri albums and I never listened to them. You know, maybe it's time to get rid of them. No, he's really good. Even this one, which if you see these in discounts, grab them. Apparently some Italian publication put these, I guess you could call them like jazz samplers. They're made cheaply apparently, but some of these have some really good music on them. And this one has, not only does it have Gato Barbieri on it, but it has Don Cherry and Albert Ayler. The Albert Ayler track is a live track. I don't know that it's on anything else. It probably is, but the Gato piece on here with Don Cherry is also good. I listened to this. So, I don't know. America is much more Mexican now, you know. I mean, it's like, it's real obvious, you know. It's like, probably by now, even though it's not been stated officially, I'll bet you there's probably more Mexicans than blacks in America now. And Gato Barbieri is someone that ought to be celebrated. It's just my opinion. Just like Aretha Franklin, I spouted some fire on Facebook a few days ago where I expressed anger and ranting, and it won't do any good, but radio is so tightly controlled and lily white. It's like black people don't exist, mainly here in Nebraska. I don't know about the rest of the country. I think it's the same. But on FM radio here, everything is tightly controlled and you have your formats. And even on the hip-hop stations don't in my opinion, truly play black music. They play this hip-hop crap for the kids, okay? And the oldie stations on FM don't play oldies. They only play Billy Idol and Madonna. And so even after the Queen of Soul passed away, there's none that compare to her. None! I still hear no Aretha Franklin on the radio. And that's my rant for the day. And that is the reason why I continue to say that things aren't right and not fair. And not living in Nebraska, I live in a culture where the mainstream of this culture tries to pretend like black people don't exist. We don't hear us on the radio. They don't celebrate the black part of the community here. I could just go on. But I think the last thing I'll say about it, to put it out broadly, is, from my perspective, radio has constantly missed the boat. We've gotten lucky and heard some good music, but it's not because they're trying to promote good music. They're just trying to make good sales. You have to go out and discover the real art. And that's what I'm here to try to help. What little I can, I try to tell you about some good stuff. Okay, talk to you in a minute.